I hope you all have a nice sweet tooth for tonight's dessert. I know I do. This one will be the last one for the week, and the next one will be on Monday. Well, I try and take the weekend off. Again. But on Sunday there will be another podcast for those who are interested. Anyways, on to the story. I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Data Magnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. When Deathworlders Meet, Part 5. Yes, that is exactly what I mean by carnivorous. Although we just call, the captain used the human word, meat, flesh. We have no special words for that, provide additional context. Right, we aren't carnivores, said the human. Not at all. I mean, we can digest flesh, if it's been laboriously prepared and heat-treated, but no one ever does it. And it's just morally wrong to kill something to just eat it. The idea of it is just disgusting, but because of its extremely high caloric density, it's sometimes artificially grown to use as emergency rations. I see. That explains why it was in the food preparations on your craft. I guess there was some in those meals, now that you mention it, Stephen offered, scratching his face. I just never eat that part. I mean, we're not even designed for it. Look at our teeth. The ones up front are for chopping vegetables, and the ones at the back are for grinding coarse plant matter. That seemed reasonable enough. And your eyes? He asked. They face forward, binocular vision. Oh, humans are descended from arboreal mammals, he explained. We jumped from tree to tree, swinging on vines. We obviously needed the depth perception to be able to properly time our jumps, grab the vines, and escape dangerous predators that were faster, larger, and stronger. You lived with carnivores on your planet, ones larger and stronger than you, with, well, no defense, but, with no natural defenses to protect yourself. Well, yeah, he said slowly, scratching his face. We got lucky, evolving intelligence to avoid them, and we were pretty safe, building our tree villages high up off the ground where no predator could reach us. You seem to have a lot of muscle mass, the captain said. He showed his own arm to the man, spreading his thick layer of feathers flat. It looked spindly next to Stephen's, though it was much longer and attached to his taller frame. Well, it is necessary for our lifestyle, Stephen said. I imagine you evolved from six-legged ground dweller, but we humans need an extra muscle to support our entire weight on only 2 legs, to climb trees, to jump from one tree to another, and to grab onto the things and lift our entire body weight up in a single hand, if necessary. And our world has pretty high gravity compared to here. I think I was once told that if our gravity was any higher, we could never have achieved early spaceflight with chemical rockets. Makes sense, the captain said. How high is your gravity anyway? I don't know the space units or whatever, but a meter is this long, Stephen said, indicating the height on the bulkhead. The captain made a note. And the acceleration of gravity at my planet's sea level is 9.8 for those per second squared. Does that help? And a second is 1, 2, 3. The captain noted the tempo of the man's counting and plugged that and the other information into his datapad and waited for his ship's AI to do the calculations. Though a rough approximation, the results were staggering. 4.2 galactic standard gravities. Unbelievable. Still, that the human was strong told him nothing. They already knew that just from the weight of his environmental suit. That didn't even mean that he or his people were dangerous, nor did anything else he had learned thus far, aside from the peculiarities of their language. Those types of errors were bound to crop up from time to time, and should always be taken with a lick of salt. Wars have been started over worse, and sometimes better translations. You seem to be very intelligent, very reasonable, and utterly harmless being, Stephen, he told the human, and I am very glad to have rescued you. He meant that. The thing would fetch a fortune. As a nobleman's personal acrobat, he could be wonderfully entertaining to watch. Why, thank you, the other man replied with a laugh. I'm glad you rescued me too. What happens now? Oh, Well, if you can tell us where you live, then we'll get you back home, he replied. The post-primitive explorer could never know. At least in any system Antiquton could recognize the astronomical coordinates of its own star. It was a safe offer. Otherwise, we take you to somewhere to be processed into the galactic community, and we ultimately set you up with a job. No one eats for free. Of course, the other man said, nodding. But I don't know where my world is. Antiquton was quite glad, and not at all surprised to hear that. It would make things a lot less awkward if he didn't have to refuse to take Stephen home. Nevertheless, he would play along. That's not going to make this easy. Is there anything that you can tell me where your world is? He placed his hand on the smaller man's shoulder and gave his best comforting expression. What if I gave you the galaxy map to look at? No, that won't help. It means nothing to me, the human said, scratching his face again. Oh well, said the captain, using body language to indicate his own helplessness. The human probably wouldn't understand it, but it was a natural response. He really, honestly couldn't do anything to help him, and thankfully, Stephen was perfectly willing to accept that, which felt rather oddly convenient. Are you sure you don't want to see the galaxy map? Antiquton asked, putting one up on the datapad. I can show you where we picked you up. Well, I can certainly take a look, Stephen said as the captain turned the map on the datapad to face him, a single point clearly marked. After a moment, the human replied, No, this doesn't help at all. Sorry. Do you know, maybe, the distance and direction that you have traveled, or were supposed to have traveled? The captain asked, prodding a little further. No, the other man said, shaking his head. No idea. The ship was fully automated. I was just inside of it as a publicity stunt, more than anything. So the human government could say, we sent a man farther than ever before with this new starship engine and brought him home safely. Too bad they messed up on that second part, am I right? Indeed. The captain definitely began to feel something just wasn't adding up. There was no way this being, as smart as it was, didn't know how far it had traveled, even if it couldn't tell the direction. They would have been planning for months for a newly advanced people's first expedition past this solar system. He would have known the distance and probably the direction too. He would have had to have seen the galaxy map of some kind, even just a section of it. The captain could have zoomed into a 200 light-year radius of where they found him, and Stephen should have been able to orient himself. Space was three-dimensional, but the galaxy was on a plane, damn it. Common celestial landmarks wasn't that abstract a concept to understand. A moment, please, he told the human before turning his attention to the pad in his hand, this time not merely for the sake of appearance. The captain typed in a message to the ship's AI as quickly as he could. List all habitable worlds within 200 light-years of where we picked up the human. No worlds matching that criteria, came the reply. He thought for a moment as a deeply unsettling feeling just barely tickled at the edges of his mind. He typed again. List all worlds that meet the following criteria. Oxygen in the atmosphere, liquid water on the surface, gravity between 3 and 5 standard units. Location within 200 light-years of where we found the human. One world found, RGT 9873A-3. Discovered by Tzittic explorers. Its name, Kritik Ikadril Yield Isk. Translates to loss of sanity and broken blue with hope abandoned. This world is not habitable, he typed. He knew damn well what the answer was to that. No, RGT 9873A-3 is a Class 12. Habitation not possible. Galactic regulation prevents approach within 100 standard light-years. General quarantine in effect. The captain blinked slowly and swallowed hard. He felt his heart thumping in his chest, pounding harder and faster with each passing second. His hands began to shake and his legs fell loose. A sickening, sinking weight grew in the pit of his stomach. He took a deep breath, blinking again, and turned his datapad off. He wanted the screen locked if the inevitable came out of nowhere. His sidearm weighed heavily on his side. He dare not even look at it. It would only get him killed faster. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed.